So I'm Nabia from Mishkan Solutions, and I'm going to have you to take some good, copious notes. That's my encouragement for today. So let's get started. Well, so here at Mishkan Solutions, what we do is we want to make sure that you get accurate and useful information for these investment streets. All right, so I'm really excited to have a guest with me here in the studio. Her name is Brenda Flatter. For all of those that really love her, they just call her Bren. So she's with the Title and Abstract Agency of America. She is the Executive Director of National Sales, and we do want to make a mention of U.S. Tax Deeds Solutions. And so what she's going to do is she's going to come on and she's going to just kind of pull out her knife and slice the truth, because we want to know the difference between tax certifications and a quiet title. We need to know the difference and what that looks like, what the process is. And with that, I'm just going to bring her on. Hey, Bren.
Good morning. Hi.
Good morning, sunshine.
Hello.
And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And
Thank you for having me.
oh, absolutely. And, if she acts right, we might have her back, so if she acts right. All right.
Right.
So where are you based out of?
I currently live in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay. We
Yeah.
love Indiana
A
because
lot
you
of
can
people
get
do.
some really good deals out there.
Yeah.
Some really, really good
Yeah.
deals out there. So, Bran, I have a couple of questions for you, and
Sure.
I absolutely want you to feel free, and you could just kind of like just throw out all the information you want to, because we know there are a lot of newbie investors that may want to get that accurate information and not make as many mistakes.
hmm
So how long have you been doing this?
I started my career in the title industry in 2005.
Okay,
And
2000.
prior to that, I was a realtor. I've done some investing myself. So I technically got my feet wet in real estate in 2000.
Wow. Okay, so you've been around the block. You've been
Went
around.
around the block.
So,
Yeah, see
um,
different types of markets, good, bad, depending on if you're in default or you like traditional, which is good and which is bad. So,
right, yeah. And I think every investor has their taste. So, for instance, for those of you that might be watching, you flipping homes may be your thing. And then, if not, perhaps you're a wholesaler. Some of you are doing buy and hold. And so there are different type of ponds out there. And so you may have your niche, and then maybe one day you'll wake up and just change your mind. It's like, I want to go over there. I want to know more about that. And so here at Mishkan Solutions, we are everything real estate. So with that, I want to give Brenda a little opportunity to just tell a little bit more about herself and what she does. And then we'll jump into some questions if that's okay.
yeah, sure. No, absolutely. Like you said, I'm the executive director of national sales for Title and Abstract Agency of America. We are a title company that has the ability to handle the nation through either where we're licensed, our affiliate partners, or our underwriter partners that we have. I think it's a good landing page for people to start. So that way we make sure the order's set up properly. We make sure everything's going to flow and per the state or the county that they may be in. And then it gives us the ability to make sure that in the event that we can't handle that transaction, that we've already vetted somebody that can.
Okay.
A lot of times I think we cater to the investor market where most title companies are going to cater to the traditional realtor, loan officer, mom and pop buy sell transactions.
Mm-hmm.
And since these are different, they have a different nuance. It's more about margins and ROIs and turn times than the emotional side of it. If
Right.
somebody's buying or selling their first house or their last house, or so
Sure.
again, it's a different journey, but it's still very important. And so I feel like that it is a help. If I can help organize and set up the file correctly to begin with, it would make it more advantageous for somebody to want to work with it and process it, because as there are so many new investors getting into this space and they don't fully understand how the transaction is to flow, what the level of expectations are, they tend to work harder, not smarter. And so if this is a way that we can help guide them, because unfortunately people don't read emails like they're supposed to anymore. They only look at a tiny little screen, so there only can be 2 or 3 things in the email. There's a lot of challenges with technology that help us in our business but also hinder us because of how the communication is now passed around. So again, I kind of digress from that, but title and abstract agency, we have the ability to cater to the investor market, whether it be residential or commercial deals. We facilitate the transactions in all types of manners. You mentioned, several of them, depending on the state requirements, whether they will not allow a wholesale transaction. If it's an assignment of contract, I know a lot of times investors can get very creative as to how they want to
Mm-hmm.
set up and construct a deal. And sometimes there's merit to what they're doing, and then there's sometimes we need to make some adjustments.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so obviously there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of detail behind, what you're doing. And so one of the things that I wanted to kind of get straight is, what's the difference between a quiet title and a tax certification? And I know, so, and I'm going to give Joseph Griffin a shout out from Tax Deed Wolves. We love you, Joseph.
Yes,
He was
he's great.
yeah, he is. He was a retired nurse. And so,
Is he really? I don't think I knew that.
yeah, he was a nurse. He was out there nursing around. And he decided he wanted to get into tax deeds and tax liens, and then more property acquisition. And so he learned everything that he had to learn. And so now he's teaching. And so for those of you that don't know, he has the Tax Deed Wolf Academy. And I'll put some information down in the chat so that if you guys are interested, please do. Please do. Everybody there is learning a lot, a whole ton. So, what's the difference especially
Sure.
for those that are doing tax deeds or tax liens?
Right.
What does that look like?
Yeah. So, we can definitely open up the conversation to talk about tax deed investing. With Title and Abstract Agency, we have another company that is called U.S. Tax Deed Solutions, to where we fast track the insurability of a tax deed.
Okay.
Normally, if you are investing in tax liens or deeds, this product's going to come into play when you actually hold the deed. Different states, the way the statute is written and their process determines whether or not it's a judicial foreclosure and it can go straight to title insurance, or depending on how the process was handled, they may require an extra step. The title insurance underwriters are going to require the quiet title action in order to insure a tax deed.
Okay.
Now, so the quiet title action is a judicial process. You hire an attorney. It's ran through the court. It can take about 3 to 6 months for a non-contested one. Nationally, the attorney fees for that are between $1,500 and $5,000 for a non-contested quiet title action. That's just the attorney fees. That's not filing fees, court costs, or any publications that state or county may require.
Right.
And then that gives you the ability, you'll be granted a judgment, it's recorded, and then you can go to any title company to obtain title insurance with your tax deed.
Right.
What we've done at US Tax Deed Solutions is we've developed a product with our underwriter. Westcor is one of the underwriters that we have set up with. We also are working on setting up a second underwriter. But we have a product that will allow us to insure that tax deed, and we target 10 business days for the review in order to insure that tax deed with the standard exceptions, and then you'll be able to convey clear and marketable title to either yourself or your end buyer. Just like you mentioned at the beginning of our appointment, everybody goes into it for a different reason. Some are buy and hold, some are fix and flips, and so based on their plan or their business model, if they have a tax deed, would determine which flow would make sense for what they need to do.
Right. So you mentioned uncontested. So that takes me to the question, like, what kind of challenges would arise, especially if you think that you've come out of this tax deed auction, you've got this thing, and then all of a sudden, poof. What are some of the challenges?
So in a tax deed situation, every state does it a little differently. Many states do their own noticing, or the county does the noticing, to where they will notify anybody that has a vested interest in that parcel that it's eligible for tax sale.
Okay.
That's where the quiet title action comes in. It's one more go around of noticing to everybody that had an interest in that property that this has now been sold at tax sale. Well, if somebody was notified during the quiet title that had a vested interest in the property but didn't get noticed during the tax sale, then that's something that could be challenged.
Right.
Because they weren't notified during the redemption period. They might be able to assert their interest, or they may have to vacate the sale. The tax deed could be overturned. There's several different things that can happen based on that quiet title action, because again, it's one more go around of noticing to everybody that's been in the sale, to where our product, if we believe if everything was handled by the county correctly the first time, then we're willing to assume that risk and insure that tax deed without having to do that extra step.
Yeah. So I know earlier you mentioned that it takes about 10 days. So obviously we have different companies, different avenues of handling it, and 10 days sounds pretty quick. 10 days sound pretty quick.
Yeah, as far as there are a few competitors that I do have out there in this market, and we're the fastest. We target a 10 business day review from the date the initial review fee's paid, in order to give you the review to let you know, yes, this property is certified, or hey, maybe we need to do an additional step in order to get it to qualify, or in the event that there are too many defects and we do recommend the quiet title action, we do provide you a title report and an attorney recommendation and why, in order for you to be able to go to an attorney to do the quiet title action. That way you know what you're up against.
Okay, so we have a question. Do they offer their service in all 50 states?
So the Title and Abstract Agency Title Services, the answer is yes. We do have the ability to help you facilitate your real estate transaction, whether it be title reports that you're using for due diligence work. And then in regards to bypassing the quiet title action, we're currently in 11 states.
Wow. She's busy. Okay, Evan, did you have any other questions? That was a good question, and I think people.
It was a great question.
Yeah, people want to know if this is state specific. And yesterday I was talking about the redemption period. That's going to also vary from state to state. I believe here in Florida it's like two years. In Alabama it's 3 years for the redemption period. So it's just going to vary. So that was a great question, Evan. I know he is a realtor. He taught his son how to invest. I was so happy when he acquired his first property. So that was.
Oh yeah, that's always exciting.
Oh my God, I'm like, why didn't I get a property when I was 20, 21?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Evan, do you? This is what happens when you go live. Things happen. That's all right. We are real. We are raw. We are here. We're here.
Absolutely.
So, so when a person first comes through, because I was good. Well, I really wanted to ask about all of the services that you
Mhm.
offer. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Let's talk about it. Let's kind of do it in an order, I guess, if you
Yes,
will.
absolutely.
So, as an investor, you're out doing research. You know, you're looking to gain property, you're looking to gain deals, you're looking to gain information. There are avenues that you can entertain and subscribe to on your own and have access to data
Mm-hmm.
that you will be able to obtain information about that particular property. Um, we are not necessarily the cost effective route to go if you're dealing in volume, because title reports can cost on average around $350, but we have gone to all the needed offices within that county. We go back 30 years, which is how far back we go to insure, to where we're going to really take a deep dive and look at that property. Because, you know, the thing that people don't realize is the same amount of work goes in a $10,000 house as goes in $1,000,000 house. That part for us is the same.
Can you say
And
that
so,
again?
yes, yes, yes. When you go to a title agent, one of the things that we hear the most is, oh, it's just this little deal. It's just this little $10,000 deal. Well, that $10,000 deal, I do the same amount of work, or my team, we do the same amount of work as we do on that $10,000 house as we do on $1,000,000 house. The service is still the same. We go back, you know, title insurance is not a commodity. It is really a need, because we take a look at the date you give us that property and we go back. We make sure that everything was remedied, permits, encroachments, liens, judgments, mortgages, vesting, chain of title issues, you know, all this stuff. We go clear to the back to make sure that when you walk away from that property, that you have clear and marketable title, that your chain of title is intact, that your legal description is correct, because we're about protecting your property rights. So then what you do with it going forward, well, that's what you do. Whether at the time we're putting a mortgage on it, or 6 months down the road, you're going to put a line of credit, or a year down the road, you didn't pay the guy for doing your gutters and he puts a mechanics lien on your property. Do you know what I mean? So again, what we do, it's a one-time service. It's a one-time fee. Title insurance is something you pay once, and it's from that date going back.
Awesome.
And so when you're doing your due diligence work, there are companies that you would be able to reach out to, that you'll be able to obtain searches. Now, I caution people because sometimes, yes, it might be a very inexpensive search, but is it accurate? Is it done by a title examiner that knows what's extinguished, what's still attached, what's still valid? If you've got a general name like John Smith, you know, did they get the middle initial? Did they get the last four of the social? Did they get the date of birth? To where 50 of these judgments showing on this title report aren't your guy. But sometimes they're not as detailed and cleaned up, and that's something you would have to clean up and do. So again, you know, depending on your business model, you know, title search reports are a key factor into what information that you need to have. Whether you have us do it, or you go to somebody else, or you do it yourself. But there's still going to be avenues that I think that people need to appreciate, that we know some of those county nuances and offices that we need to go and look in order to make sure that you have the information you need when you're submitting your bid.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yes,
And then the other thing is, so
Go
title
ahead.
reports are something that we can do nationally. And then in some cases, that title report is all you need. In other states, there is a secondary search. For example, you mentioned Florida. Florida, you also have to have a municipal lien search done on the property, because that is something that is not recorded, but does affect the property. Those are something that, you know, go in addition, because those are always going to stay attached. With the issuing of a tax deed, some things do get extinguished, but anything government pretty much stays along. So any municipal water lien, sewer lien, that's going to stay attached to that property. And so you're going to want to know that for your margins, depending on what your bid amount's going to be, because you know when it comes time to either you're gaining insurance or you're selling that parcel, that lien's going to have to be satisfied. So those are the things that we can do prior to you going under contract or you going to the sale in order to help you with your diligence. Then as you acquire property, whether it be if it's a lien, we have to wait out the redemption period. If you're wholesaling, if you're getting assignment, if you're doing any type of buy-sell transactions, then that's where we could come into play and help facilitate those. We are a full-service title agency, so we have the ability to handle residential or commercial cash lender, tax deed, non-tax deed, REO, sheriff's sale, all of those types of those transactions that we can help provide clear and marketable title to either yourself or your next buyer.
Wow, that's a lot. That's very thorough. I love that. It's okay. Almost like a one-stop shop.
It can be. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the hope. I mean, the hope is that, we form a relationship. We want to be a valued partner to what you're doing and your business needs and helping you achieve your goals. And, you might call me and say, hey, I've got this deal. I need to set it up and structure it this way. And then I'll be like, hey, yeah, so far everything marries well. It shouldn't have any issues with any of the state requirements or, nuances that, that we have to face, because we want to keep everybody compliant. Yeah. We want to keep everybody above board so nobody gets audited, that everything's just, handled, in a measure that's respectable. Okay,
so Jennifer Harris, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. Jennifer, you're so big. Big words. So she said, this sounds like a wealth of information. I'll be sure to watch the recording to make sure I get the full picture of what's being offered. So thank you, Jennifer, for that. Yeah, and if you have any questions while you're on, if anything pops in your head, please feel free to ask Bren. She's very knowledgeable in what she does, and I love the fact that she wants to build relationship. Mm-hmm. It's not just the, hey, give us your money and then we're on our way, and call us when you need something. I love that. I love that. Steve, I think Steve Mack is on here. Steve, if you have any questions, please ask. He's another fellow investor.
Okay.
So you mentioned the chain of title, and I want to kind of pop back there for a second, especially for newbie investors. Mm-hmm. What does chain of title look like? Now, as a realtor, we understand chain of title. You have to make sure there's no cloud on title. Make sure everything is clear. I think I said in the video the other day, this person owned it, and before that, this person owned it. Before this, okay, we don't know who owned that. So What does that look like at navigating through a situation like that?
Well, and you gave it the, almost you just needed to go back a couple more people just a minute ago in your scenario, because so-and-so owned it, and then before that he owned it, and before that she owned it, maybe before that the grandpa owned it, or and that's what the chain of title, and that's what we talk about a chain and title is showing the succession of ownership and how was it transferred, and making sure that the correct deed or legal description was used as each individual then is coming into title and then taking it over. Some of the situations that we're running in now that are rampant in our country is land fraud. It is real, and it's really happening. Land fraud is amazingly an issue for all of us right now. It's causing a lot of constraints with us from a title perspective, because we have to take extra steps for security to ensure that the notary that we're being used is an actual notary that is with a system that's vetted for our insurance and our E&Os in order for this to get recorded. And it's causing some extra fees and some extra processes because of all the land fraud that's happening. And we just can't be too careful.
Yeah.
And another thing that's hurting, I think, a lot of people are investors that are using quitclaim deeds. You put too many quitclaim deeds in the chain of title of a property, and it can affect its insurability.
Wow. Can you?
And here's a little nugget of information I'm going to give everybody. And let me tell you how much money I'm just now going to save you. Anytime you walk away from a closing table and you have title insurance, the minute you quit claim yourself off that deed, or you quit claim it from your personal name to your LLC, you've just lost your title insurance. So I bet you anything, people that are either on this call or that are listening have bought a property in their personal name, walked away from the closing table, quit claimed it into their LLC, and now they do not have title insurance. And they don't know it.
Did you guys hear that? Now, I mean, listen, I love a quit claim deed, and it's quit, not quick. It's quit, Quit, quit claim. I love the process of the quit claim deed. It's simple. It's not difficult. However, did you hear what she just said? Do you have a story to go with that? Because people love stories.
Yeah.
People remember stories.
Well, and for example, you quit claimed it into your LLC, and then now somebody came back and said, "Hey, I've got a judgment that wasn't satisfied," and now you have to fight that claim. One of the things that I tell a lot of people, title insurance is about protecting your property rights. And if anybody's ever picked up the phone and called a good attorney, a good one, they're a minimum of $300 an hour, minimum. Mm-hmm. And how long do you think you're going to be on that phone call explaining that situation? Because we all know everybody gives more information that's needed. They tell them facts of the stuff that you don't need. So even if you're on the phone for 2 hours, that's $600. That's probably, depending on the area that you're in, that's as much as a title policy, or less than a title policy.
Wow.
And I think somebody asked a question about how do you get title insurance? Well, you contact a title company and you have them we run a commitment to insure. We look to see everything that's attached to that property and what needs to be remedied. Like in the example that if I'm selling my property to Jack down the street, he's going to want to make sure, like if I have a mortgage, what that payoff amount's going to be. Is there a glean? He's going to want to know if that's been released in order to have, in order for these exceptions to be cleared, in order to convey a clear title policy to him or to myself. And then therefore, then I can pay the policy amount and then obtain title insurance. So if you're asking because you're looking to buy a property, then that's handled at the buy-sell transaction at the closing agent. If you've already bought a property and you bought it in your name at a title company and you walked away and you quit claimed it to your LLC, well, then that's another thing you can call. We can open up a commitment, see where you're at. Maybe you're lucky, there's nothing on there. You'll just pay the policy amount. We'll issue you a title policy, and then you're going to be, move on your merry way.
Yeah. Okay, Jennifer, she said, well, that is gold. I did a quick clean on our family home. I know now what not to do as an investor.
Yeah. And here's another example of the same scenario. I had a client buy it in their personal name, and we were scheduling the closing. We were getting ready to go to closing, and he just happened to say to me on the conversation, "Oh, after this closes, I need to have you quit claim this into my LLC." And I went, "No." I go, "Wait a minute. What are you, and then I just said, what is it that you're looking to do? I said, just do an amendment to the purchase agreement, changing who's in title. Mm-hmm. And then that way, then the buyer seller knows, and then you can just move on.
Yeah. Because you don't want
that way
to.
It saved him I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
It saved him.
We're girls. We do that all the time.
It saved him the money that he was asking the seller to pay for the title insurance. Mm-hmm. We didn't have to pay to create a new deed, and we didn't have to pay to record a new deed, or I can't remember the state if we had to do transfer stamps or doc stamps. But again, that would have happened. That could have happened as well. So just by having that conversation ahead of time, and that's the other thing too, that we were allowed to save him money. And I just want to sidebar that when you as an investor and you're working with your title agent, this is where it's very helpful to be transparent.
Yes.
Because hiding something back or thinking it's not that, oh, well, I'm not going to tell anybody because I'm going to try to sneak it through closing. If we know ahead of time, then we can set up the expectation. We know how to manage it. We know what we're looking for. I just think sometimes that as creative as you guys want to get, there's sometimes that, no, you just have to do it the way. You just have to follow the rule.
Right.
There's no workaround. There's no, craziness that we can get through it. It's the way.
Yeah, and you're right. The creativity is good when it's applicable, and that's okay. But you don't want your paperwork to look suspect, because if somebody's coming in to purchase and they're looking at the paper trail and it looks funky and fishy, you're gonna lose that person. You're gonna lose the client, and it's not worth it. And knowledge is power. And wisdom is applied knowledge. So you lose a lot because you didn't know, and you thought that, well, this sounds like a good idea. I'm not going to tell. This is the person you should be telling, because then they could tell you how to do it the right way. Does that make sense, y'all? Does that make sense? So let me see, make sure there's any more questions in the comments. Thanks guys for participating. Thank you for your questions. Really good questions. You have any comments, put that in the chat too. But yeah, let me see. All right, because I'm not going to kidnap her and hold her hostage for too long. So what would your advice be? I didn't tell her I was going to ask her this. What? I love doing these pop-ups, but of course I would never ask you something that you don't know. But if somebody is coming to you, like if I know absolutely nothing, and I have this property that I just acquired, and I don't know what to do, I don't know how to do, I don't know the laws in my state. Like, walk me through that process. Just kind of walk me through. I'm brand new. I don't know anything.
Well, I hope that you would have done a little research and a little education prior to getting a deed. However, I do know
Wait, hold on. It won't trigger a mortgage company to pay the full balance. Steve, I need a whole question. Because when I see things like, let me put this back, where it says it won't trigger a mortgage company to pay the full balance, that sounds like, due on clause. Okay, that's when you own a property and then you sell it before that mortgage is paid out, and they find out about it. That's called a due on sale. So I'm not sure what exactly are you asking as far as the quiet title. Just give me a whole question so that we understand. Unless you understand, Bren.
I'm going to feed into that a little bit. I'm going to assume that he's referring to when we were talking about you bought it in your personal name, you got a mortgage in your personal name,
okay,
you walked away, and then you quit claimed it into an LLC because you're trying to protect your asset. So yes, I mean, in some aspects, in that case, if the terms of your mortgage change, then yes, they can do a due on sale clause. It can cause the mortgage company, to come into play. Now, again, I don't know. I'm not an attorney, but if in the event that if it's a sole owner LLC, maybe they might have some understanding with that. For example, Jack and Jill start an LLC together. Well, that's a dual LLC. But if myself personally has an LLC where I'm the sole owner, I'm just doing it, to protect my assets, then maybe they might look at it differently.
Right. Okay, because he switch to a LLC. So I think that's what he's saying. You bought it in your personal name. Now you want to switch it to an LLC, and then so we did answer his question.
I think we addressed what he was referring to.
Yeah.
But again, that's why on a cash transaction, if you have gone under a mortgage, it is different because it would be seen as a commercial mortgage and non-owner occupant, those type of things, to where that can definitely cause an issue in a real estate transaction.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, you don't want your paperwork looking funky.
No. Oh, but and then to go back and answer your question.
Right.
So so to go back and answer that. So hopefully you've done a little bit of work and a little bit of research prior to going, but I will tell you that there are a lot of misconceptions with the tax deed industry. It is very high risk. It is more high risk than I think other types of real estate transactions because of the manner in which these properties are taken. When it's done by publication, it's done by auction, sometimes it's on the county courthouse steps. There's a lot of nuances that can happen in that kind of a scenario. So with that being said, I don't want people to be penny wise and pound foolish. I think it makes sense to spend a little bit of money on these properties, as you're looking to get into, buying them, whether you're going through the lien period and you're riding out through the redemption, or you're going to deed sales, because each state has their own nuances, which in regards to how long a tax deed can be challenged, the type of redemption rate through a lien period. So those things are definitely things that you're going to want to take into consideration, because as the statute is written, you have clear title.
Right.
When you are issued a tax deed, but you do not have marketable title. And that is one of the things that I think frustrates and upsets people the most, because they don't find out about this extra piece until after the fact. Because the county will tell you, well, you've got clear title, and they're not wrong. Mm-hmm. But they're not real estate people to understand there's marketable title and then there's clear title, and those are two different steps. So that's why with these tax deed properties, having this extra step involved, the quiet title action, can be very costly, can be very timely. Even the tax certification product can save you time because it's 10 business days. We still have a cost to do that. Now, and many times we're less expensive than the quiet title action. Sometimes we're the same, or sometimes we're more. But if you have a cash buyer sitting there, sometimes that little margin is worth, spending in order to get your deal closed versus waiting it out.
Right. Yeah, that's key. And like Jennifer said, that's gold. you got to know the difference. So the clear title, marketable title. And so we get excited, especially when you're doing tax deeds or tax liens, depending on the state. I like Florida because we're both a tax lien and a tax deed state. Yay. So you're going in, you're looking at the auction, you got your money in there, you found something you like, and yay, you won the auction. So this is where we get into, okay, but how much did it really cost you? If you're doing it clean or if you're making mistakes, how much did it really cost you? And so these are the things that we need to know up front. And due diligence, boys and girls, it's a thing. Please don't be lazy. Don't eat from every table. You gotta go to a professional. We're not attorneys, so there's certain things we can't tell you, but we may know enough to say you need to go to an attorney, and then do it. And don't get creative and dance around it because you don't want to pay the $300 an hour. It's because, guess what? Maybe that 2 hours that you spent talking to the attorney is saving you thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, right?
Let me, I'm going to pivot really quick. I know we're not, yeah. I know you wanted to talk about tax deeds specifically, but you did mention creative things with investors.
Yes.
And this is a prime example that I want to share. If you're wholesaling or working with assignments of contracts, this is where your due diligence is more important than anything you're going to do. Because you could be negotiating with Jack for all these months and then get down to it, and when you pull title, Jack isn't the authorized seller. Jack might be the son of the mom, and the mom has still all the rights, and you've been working and negotiating with the wrong person. Or I had a situation that this is hand to God, true story.
I love
family,
those.
Parents passed away, inherited, they had 6 kids. All 6 kids got put on title of the residence because they inherited it. For the 6 kids inherited mom and dad's house. So the 6 kids went on there as their own individuals. Again, they didn't have any help. Went in as their own individuals. One of the siblings took charge, negotiated a sale of $60,000 to this wholesaler. He did everything at their word. No title was pulled ahead of time. He took that $60,000, turned around and sold it for $80,000. Came to me now's the first time anybody with title was involved.
Oh my God.
We opened up title. Those 6 heirs ended up with 39 exceptions on title because of how they took title. Each one of those heirs had their own judgments. And when a judgment is issued to you, then it attaches to anything that you own in real estate.
Yes.
And all of their judgments attached to that house. So for example, one of the heirs didn't pay their dentist bill, had a medical debt, had a judgment for a repossessed car, all of that stuff attached to that house. And this guy worked for weeks getting them to sell him the house, worked weeks getting another buyer, thought he was making $20,000. He didn't even have it at his $80,000. He didn't even have it covered to cover all those liens.
Yikes.
For $350, he would have known that on day one.
See? Wow.
Yeah, he would have known that on day one.
Because we don't want to pay the attorney. Who knows what
and I'm not even an
do.
attorney. Here's the beauty. I mean, a title company. Now, granted, you might be able to find a title company that might do the report at a different dollar amount.
Yeah.
That's fine. I just know because we come with other value. Right. Yes, our title reports are probably going to be $350. They are going to be a little more than you're going to spend, but you get our phone number. You get access to us. We'll answer your questions. We'll give you the information. We'll help, you know what I mean? So with this particular file, we gave him the information. We told him what it had to do, and he worked for months getting that. He worked months getting that stuff cleared. Now, we could have done it for title curative work. I mean, some of this is above and beyond, so there would have been additional fees. So he took that on himself. And we did close it, but it was months later.
Wow. Let me throw this in that. Okay. He said
$350, no strings attached. Yes, a title report nationally is $350. It'll get you a 30-year search, and that's all you have to buy. That's all you'll need. You don't have to come any further. Yeah, it's all for due diligence. Yeah. It'll let you know what the tax amounts are, water and sewer, depending on your state, because of other than Florida, because you can't do the municipal lien search with codes and permits and that kind of stuff. But most of the other states, it encompasses everything together.
Yes. Yeah, that's a story. But one of the things that I always say to whether it's a newbie investor or because I'm a coach as well, so I may have to just kind of grow them all up. But one of the things that we have to understand that we learned how to walk by falling. Mm-hmm. Learned how to walk by falling. Mm-hmm. And I don't want people to be so afraid that they do nothing. We have this analysis paralysis, and so we just do nothing, and we just sit on the bleachers and we watch everyone else do it. And we don't need to do that. Hold on, let me see. Oh, Steve said, yeah, thanks. You are welcome, sir. Thank you for your question. He needs a business card. But we're going to fax it to you.
And I don't know if you have a chat available. I know this is being recorded. I know you suggested to everybody to grab, take notes. So hopefully everybody can grab their pen and their paper.
Yeah, you want to give a phone number?
Yep.
Go
Let
ahead.
me give you a phone number and an email address. So you all have my name is Brenda Flatter. My phone number is 574
574
855 8968.
8968. So I'm going to kind of...
Yeah, and then let me give you my email address as well. My email is bflatter, so B as in boy, F as in Frank, LATTER @logs.com, LOGS.com.
Okay, and I'm going to put that in there. Make sure I did that right.
Yep. Yep.
All right, so that's her email. bflatter@logs.com. And this is also her phone number. Please call her. Ask all the questions that you want to.
But you got to give me at least one easy deal. I mean, I'll help you with all the hard ones, but I got to get one easy one.
Yeah. We don't want to have her working like a Hebrew slave.
Yeah, I have one guy that calls me, and every time he calls me, I'm like, I know you do a lot of transactions. I want the nice ones. I want the easy ones. Why do I always get the hard ones?
Right. So this is her email. I'm going to put this over here. This is how you get in touch with her. bflatter@logs.com. Please give her a call at 574-855-8968. Ask her some questions, get some knowledge before you run out. But yeah, she wants the easy deals. Give her the
I mean, I'll take a couple rough ones, but not all of them.
Right. And so, her prices are competitive. But you get so much, and you get access, and you get relationship, which is what you really want at the end of the day. Because if you are an investor, you're not going to just do one deal. You're not. I mean...
And I want everybody to make money. You know what I mean? I want everybody to make money in the transaction. I want everybody to have their property rights protected. I want the deal to be correct, accurate. We like for them to go smooth. Sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't.
Yes.
But again, they all get closed and everybody walks away with the property or their money. It all happens.
There's that.
So, yeah.
All right. So if anybody else has a question or a comment, please just put it in. We want to hear from you. If you've never purchased a property, let us know. And are you interested in that? Well, if you're on this channel, you should be interested. But if you're thinking about purchasing your first property for the purpose of making money, I know that 'cause there's this myth. You purchase a home and you think you have an asset. It's only an asset for the bank, not for you. Why? Because it's not making you any money. So it's not an asset. It's not. I'm sorry to tell you. It's an asset for the bank. If you don't pay, they will snatch it. So, but if you really want to make money, then you want to step into the arena. You want to make your first purchase, but not without doing your due diligence. And you want to have people like Brenda, who is helping you along the way, so that you don't get caught in a paper trap. Funky. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. It's not sexy and it's not cute. So there's that. All right, so we have put up her phone number. I'm going to put it up again. Please call Brenda Flatter and ask her questions. Ask her what the process is. She will walk you through it. You get this brand new relationship. And even if you're not going to do anything until later, at least you have the relationship started. Okay? At least you have that started. And then you can go back later, whether it's in 2 months, 6 months, a year, you've already got that foundation, and you know that you're working with someone that's trustworthy. Hope that makes sense. I'm going to throw her email back up there again, bflatter@logs.com. All right, so I don't, she said, yes, that part. All right, so I know Adrian, she has a situation with, well, I don't want to put your business out there. And Steve said, yeah, not knowing, definitely not profitable. Yeah, because, so when you're purchasing a piece of property, in the Adrian's family's case, or someone like her, where the father and the mother both own the property, and then somebody somewhere ran in and did a quit claim, so now he only owns half of it, and the wife, who has passed away, and stop me if I got this wrong, the wife passed away, so her portion is just kind of hovering, and it doesn't automatically go to the husband, which it most likely should. And this is in the state of Georgia.
How did they take time? And maybe you don't know this. How did how did the two people take title? Did they take title as husband and wife? Did they take title as tenants in common? Do you know? Did they take title
like
with
joint tenancy in common?
Yeah, right. Or did they go in as husband and wife? Because that's another thing. Let me save everybody some money now.
Yeah, save us some money.
You're married. You buy a house as husband and wife. You buy a house, and then you get divorced. But then but let's say one spouse stays in the house. Make sure you correct that deed, because you're no longer husband and wife. So if the husband goes and gets a judgment and he's on title of a property, it can get attached to that house now, because he owns a piece of real estate, to where when you're husband and wife, if you own something and I would get a judgment, it wouldn't attach. But because of how you've taken title is how you can also protect your asset.
Right. Yeah. So that's a key thing.
Anybody that's getting divorced, get a new deed.
Get a new deed. So this is how they owned it: undivided 1/2 interest, and that's how the deed reads. So I'm not familiar with that undivided.
Is that what his and hers interests together? This is, you know what, we should probably have a conversation about this, or
right. Yeah, we don't have to do this here. Yeah.
Or hand me information, because I've got more questions than I have more questions than anything right now.
Yeah.
And I would need to see the information in order to make a determination as to what we need to do and what needs to happen. So for example, for something like this, if you already have a copy of the deed that you're talking about, if you already have a copy of the commitment because you're looking to sell the property, or maybe I'm not sure what your next step is. Closer. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Then again, with not knowing what you're wanting to do with it now to what we need to do to remedy it, if what you just said, if the closer made a mistake and they walked away with a title policy, then it looks like you'd have a claim on your title policy.
Right. And I know in this particular case that they didn't agree. Who didn't agree? So I know in this case, it's looking like the children have to sign a quitclaim deed to sign it over to the father. Yeah.
And the kids won't sign it.
I don't know. We don't know yet. We're just kind of waiting. Because how it was told to me, I could see, and she did go to an attorney, but we ended up saying the same thing. They need to do a quitclaim deed over to the father to gain the wife's, who's deceased, interest back to him.
Oh.
So, because the way it was explained to me, that's what needed to happen. Because otherwise, but again, we need to have a conversation so that more questions can be pursued. Yeah.
But if you have a plan,
your parents
if you have a
didn't agree.
plan and you've been given a flow and the parties won't participate, well, there's not much anybody can do with that. If how it needs to be rectified, you might have to seek legal counsel.
Right. Yeah. So, and she did, and the attorney told her basically the same thing I did. So, yeah. But it's just hanging out there. But yeah, but it's a conversation that needs to happen. We don't need to do this on the air. but the example, Bren, that you gave with the husband and wife, and then they split, you know, and which happens every day. Happens every day. And then nobody does anything until somebody decides.
And sometimes there's no need to do anything. Sometimes there is no need. But in some situations where, you know, somebody stayed in the marital residence and then they've left, you know, sometimes they have to sell now. You know, it just depends on everybody's situations. But if you have a property that was owned by husband and wife and they're no longer married, then that deed needs to be updated, because if Jack or Jill would happen to get a judgment, it would attach to that property because of how they've taken title, because they're no longer husband and wife anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, and there's a lot, especially when you're looking at possession of a property, and then how was it joint tenancy? Was it tenancy in common? So there's a lot, and you have to know the difference between each one, so that when you, as a professional, whether you're a realtor, whether you're an attorney, whether you are an heir or not, you have to know what these things mean, especially for you. Like, do I get anything?
Right.
Like, so you don't know. And then there are people that pass away intestate. That means there was no will. So, in certain terms, only belong, when you look at it, you know, okay, this only has to do with husband and wife and no one else. So it just depends on the language and to understand that. So, yeah. All right, let me make sure there's nothing else in the chat. All right, so yeah, this is her email. Email her. Make sure you write it down. And there's her phone number again. So we've been on here about an hour. So y'all got enough tea to satisfy you. Got enough tea. So I am going to say thank you, Brenda, or Bren. Yeah, we have to say Bren. So I just want to say thank you so much for all the information that you gave, and I'm going to say you did act right, so I'll probably have you back.
Well, thank you again for having me. I'm glad that you asked. I would love to be able to help you and your community any chance that you may have a need. So just let me know. I'm always happy to help.
Awesome sauce. And that's what you get. Relationship. All right, guys. All right, guys. Thanks. So guys, we're going to talk to you later. This is Mishkan Solutions. You can go to mishkansolutions.net. Don't get caught in the net. Mishkansolutions.net, where we do all things real estate, giving you usable and accurate information for all things real estate. And so whether you're a newbie investor or whether you are, you've been out there for a few minutes, we want to make sure that the resources that we have there, whether they're books, whether they're information on tax deeds, tax liens, property acquisition in all forms, that you're able to get it and to understand it. All right, so with that said, we are going to disembark, and we will see you on the next one. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, because we want to hear from you. All right, guys, we love you. All right, bye.